I doubt I could top anything like the 2013 Sheriff's video. That video is really climbing up in popularity, isn't it? And I was just, speaking the damn truth. But I strive to try. This is part, I don't think it's necessarily one topic or another. It's just me. This YouTube channel is about me and my life experiences of what I'm going through. So, speaking of all that, let's talk about Sunday Funnies. Before there was TikTok, there was the Sunday Funnies and weekly Funnies. My favorite was Garfield, and we'll end this video with today's Garfield strip. But yeah, I mean, Beetle Bailey, what is it? The Family Circus, Dilbert. Yeah, I guess the guy's going through his own political points of views, but that's all right, whatever. I respect his points of views, but I got my own. But anyway, you got Dilbert, you got Charlie Brown, Peanuts, you had Andy Capp, you had, what is it? Hagar the Horrible, Mother Goose and Grimm. Oh yeah, Dennis the Menace. I remember the cereal too. So before TikTok, and I also remember, I guess the best analogy would be like if you ever chew Bazooka Joe gum. They used to have, well, they still do have. They went back to the comic strips, but they had the comic strips all the time, and then they retired that for a little while to make like these little, like you have a little like a little link, like you type in a keyword into the Bazooka Joe website and you see a little video instead of a comic strip. But that didn't last too long, I think, because when I got Bazooka Joe gum, like I think it was last year, I would see the comic strips instead, because comic strips were where it was at. I would just read, and that would be my whole day. There would be no tablets, no smartphones, no internet. All we had was what was going on with Hagar, what was going on with Beetle Bailey or Dennis or Baby Blues or what is it, Mary Wentworth. There were some of those like not so funny soap opera, serious looking ones. Even like Spider-Man and Superman and Masters of the Universe, they had their own like time to shine. Oh, this is 35 years of Garfield. Yeah, Garfield's now 45. And it looks the same as he has before. I think Jim Davis does less art these days. I'm not sure where he is now, but I think he's still doing it. But I think he split the work. So I'm not sure exactly how that is. Somebody else does the lettering. He does the art. I'm not sure. It's raining. It's sunny. Make up your mind already. Yeah, this is the kind of stuff I used to read. Because I remember that Garfield would take up 3 panels and Peanuts would take up 4 panels. This looks like a Far Side joke. Moment of silence while the inventor of TV remote dies at 96. This is like one of those Far Side ones. Far Side, Doonesbury. That's where you had the Boondocks, right? What is it? What is that? Outland, Bloom County. It was like, was it that penguin? The penguin and Bill the cat. I remember the penguin. I forgot his name. There's a cartoon called A Wish for Wings That Work. It should still be on YouTube somewhere. It should still be on there. I remember that. Peanuts. What goes on with Charlie Brown? Charlie Brown is like, I think this is like, yeah, this is Charlie Brown and some other kid. Schroeder, we don't see Sally yet. No Linus. There were multiple storylines. After Charles Schultz had died, they started out from the 1974 good old Charlie Brown, and then Blue Sky acquired Peanuts, and then they stopped making the comic strips, which was stupid. I mean, it's extra money, right? And then Apple got a hold of it. Apple TV and Peanuts. What a way to ruin your Christmas and Halloween by, hey, want to watch It's the Great Pumpkin or Charlie Brown Christmas? You got to go on your Apple TV and download the app. And how natural that is, instead of like looking at your black and white cathode ray TV. You know, the one that swivels, like what is it? I don't even know. It's like it pitches on a 180. swivel, right? And you just like adjust it, you turn the knobs, and that sort of like, how do I describe it? That blue, gray, green screen that turns on, you see peanuts, and it's magical memories, right? You get the cookies out from your microwave or your oven or whatever. Oh my God. Just like thinking about the 60s and the pastel colors. But I'm a little more familiar with the 70s. Oh yes, Archie, Calvin and Hobbes. Calvin and Hobbes, yeah. Whereas Calvin would imagine his tiger doll to be real. There's Dennis. Archie. And then you got Beetle Bailey. Remember the episode? I think David Letterman talked about this where what is it? Beetle Bailey got captured. He got captured overseas because he deserted his post. So because he deserted his post and went AWOL, they captured him. Well, the general's like, I don't know if we're going to find him. And the sergeant's like, oh, he's not dead. He's all right. He's not dead, right? And the whole time he's like, no, Beetle Bailey's not dead. And then finally, after all the bad news of we can't seem to find Beetle Bailey, the sergeant's like, ha 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 ha. And then he does this sort of Sound of Music dancing around on the airfield. It's like, he's finally dead. You hear this music. I did it. I got rid of my enemy. And then the Sarge calls on the walkie-talkie and says, we had to do it. We had to trade him for 5 Taliban prisoners. There's a silhouette. You see a silhouette in the background, like, oh, no. There's Beetle Bailey. I'm back, Sarge. Oh, people hated that joke. I think these are more modern comics. These look like digital comics, like pretending to be paper. I don't recognize any of this stuff. I don't know who these are. Nope, don't know who any of these are. Yeah, most of these are like, like more political cartoons and, more adults. They weren't as accessible. I try to think of all the ones that made it, all the Sunday Funny characters that made it to cartoon. Dennis the Menace, right? Outland or Bloom County. Garfield, Peanuts, Baby Blues, Marvin the baby, right? Dilbert. I really can't think of anything else. Mother Goose and Grimm, right? Marmaduke, Heathcliff, yeah. And like with Marmaduke and Heathcliff, you'd have the kitty corner and the dog corner, and every time you would read a Heathcliff, it might still be true, but every time you read Heathcliff or Marmaduke, there would be a story about somebody and their dog or cat and how their dog or cat would behave. This was long before you see cat videos on YouTube, long before YouTube, okay? You would read a story about how their cat would behave a certain way and misbehave, and maybe it would raise its paw for treats. It was all printed on newspaper every Sunday, and you get the weekly funnies in black and white and the Sunday funnies in color. It was such a different time. Yeah, it was like, the weekly funnies would be in black and white, and you would get your weekly adventures. This is before, I used to get into like a lot of those comic strips before comic books. You have to remember, comic books were a collection of comic strips. So comic strips, you had political cartoons were a satire of certain paintings that were made centuries ago. And then the satirical cartoons, some were racist cartoons, some were satirical. And then those became comic strips. And then from comic strips, you had comic books to cartoons and TV shows and movies and internet stuff. So really, it's like, this is like the centerpiece of everything that goes on now. And I think in a lot of ways, TikTok videos are like a lot like comic strips, only less funnier and little too predictable. But I don't know. Maybe it's all about perspective. There's Blondie. I remember Blondie. Yeah, I think they still make this. I think Blondie's still in newspapers. Not that rare. Yeah, this looks like what is it? It looks like another Gary Larson one, like Far Side kind of thing. High and Lois, yeah. So you had like these, I kind of remember this one. There was something that somebody had said. It was in the Garfield special how, one woman was depressed eating pears out of a can because she had to wear a body brace. But reading these comic strips made her feel better. Yeah, I mean, I would take this over TikTok. I really would. Even the more serious ones, you got Spider-Man. This is the Spider-Man newspaper edition. Here you got, here's some Doonesbury. That's this stuff right here. How is it possible that Sessions Page Kushner, Don Jr., oh, he's going over names. I have no idea what he's talking about. Are also forgetful about Russian contacts. So yeah, it does get a little political, doesn't it? Here we go. So this is actually Monday's comic, isn't it? Here's Garfield for Monday, both sleeping, and he's going to take the bigger one. So yeah, it's a little more surrealism. Imagine if Garfield had Simpsons humor, where it's like Odie decides to bail on Garfield when they have a plan to like capture all the lasagna. Odie wants to go and like fetch a stick somewhere. He gets distracted, and Garfield would just call Odie a son of a bitch, which is technically true because he's a dog and female dog. Anyway, there you go. So enjoy this TikTok for however long it lasts.